A Durban teacher who was shot at school has died. It's understood the Riverdene Secondary School educator was shot in the head by an unknown suspect at the school in the north of Durban. He later died in hospital. Are KwaZulu-Natal schools becoming a battlefield? We're joined for more now by Education Department HOD Nkosinathi Ngcobo. Nkosinathi, thanks so much for your time this evening. Just to start off this conversation, could you give us some more details around the incident at Riverdene Senior Secondary? We believe the teacher involved, the teacher that was shot in the head, we understand, has died. What other information can you share with us about what happened at the school?
No, the information we got is that the teacher was shot at the school. A car came with about 3 men and they opened fire on him. He was rushed to hospital and he later succumbed to his injuries today. It's a very saddening story. We pass our condolences to the family of this teacher. It's very, very painful for us as a department to be saying, this on national television that we've lost one of our teachers in a tragic way like this. Not being the first one, there are several others who have lost their lives in our premises.
Nkosinathi, just back to the incident in Riverdene. Did this shooting take place in front of school pupils? And are there any plans in place to ensure that they get counselling for any trauma they might have suffered?
Yeah, yes, it did. It did take place in, as the learners were arriving and the colleagues of this teacher. We have dispatched, that kind of help, social help. We always do it immediately when these things happen, and in this case we've done so again. They are subjected to trauma counselling.
What can you tell us about the school? Have there been issues before? Is it in an area that has got problems with crime and violence? Do you believe that this teacher was targeted?
It's hard to say until, of course, the law enforcement authorities do the investigation and tell us what could have happened. But, the issue of crime and criminality in general in our communities is what is affecting our schools, because our schools are a microcosm of the community. And we are affected by what's going on around, and even in terms of trying to fight it, we are not in a position really as Department of Education to fight these things alone, because it's a societal problem. It's unfortunate that the criminal elements seem to be targeting our schools these days. We are appealing, of course, to the communities out there to protect our learners, protect our schools, and cooperate with the law enforcement authorities whenever things such as this incident happen, in terms of providing information to the law enforcement authorities so that the people who do these things can be brought to book. But it is a general problem. Just last weekend we had the Department of Community Safety and Liaison in the province called a crime prevention summit. All those things show, efforts such as this show that the province as a whole is concerned with the rising levels of crime. And in the Department of Education in particular, we are affected, in a number of ways, in that our learners, get traumatized when these things happen. And our teachers, our schools really unfortunately seem to be, at the end of these violent crimes that are taking place. And we're just appealing to communities to assist us and assist the law enforcement authorities to apprehend such people.
Nkosinathi, I could just come in there. Sorry to interrupt you. It is quite telling that you and your department already have a system in place for when incidents like this shooting at Riverdene Secondary takes place. You know what to do. You have to send in the counsellors. You know that they need to speak to the police, and the list goes on. It's quite telling that you've got a system like that in place, because it means this kind of thing happens far too often. Your department has had quite the time of it. You've had the crisis as a result of the floods, and then just the last few weeks especially, there didn't seem to be a few days that go by without an incident of some kind of violence at a school in KZN. Just very quickly, in May there was classes had to be suspended at Effingham Senior Secondary in Durban after a fight broke out on school grounds. Then there was a shooting, I believe it was reported at Pambile Secondary School in Seaview, where a grade 10 pupil was shot in the leg, and that's just two of a long list of incidents that you have to deal with on a daily basis. Fighting is one thing. Then there is the access to guns, or guns being able, or people bringing guns onto the premises. For you, what is it? Is there a priority that needs to be approached through the Education Department and law enforcement in terms of better security, in terms of gun access to the campuses? Or is it also looking at aggressive behavior or an aggressive atmosphere on the schools, to look at talking to kids about how to work with conflict resolution without things becoming physical? What for you is a priority, or is it just a combination of things?
I would say it is a combination of things. We do have a school safety strategy which pulls together a variety of stakeholders and government departments to work on this. We have community, structures that are involved. Every school has a school safety committee. But at the end of the day, it is a battle we cannot really win alone. We do need everybody to be involved. For example, parents must ensure that they talk to their children. They must ensure that they know what's in that bag that the child is carrying to school. Because you see, for a child to go to school with a gun, it would mean that that child had access to a gun, probably at home or somewhere, but and he would have come to school, from home, and the parent, probably didn't even know that there was a gun in that school bag. So we're saying parents must talk to their children, ensure that they have interest in what's in those bags. From our side, we have even in the curriculum we have life orientation, and among other things, it does deal with conflict resolution. It does deal with better ways of resolving conflicts and being able to live side by side with each other as learners. We also have security guards, although we can't provide as much as we do, because our belief is that you can have the security guard, but incidents such as this will continue to happen as long as the criminality is not stamped up in the communities themselves.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and for that insight. That's Education HOD in KZN, Nkosinathi Ngcobo, who joined us live there. We thank him for his time.